Welcome to Calyptus Consulting Group's Intermediate Negotiations e-learning program. This is the second in a series of 3 negotiations programs for the supply management professional. This program is focused on providing additional knowledge and skills to procurement professionals with 3 to 7 years of experience. As a result of taking this course, participants will be able to evaluate the negotiation environment in a procurement setting, understand the role of negotiator power, either from a buyer's or supplier's perspective, determine the appropriate negotiating style, manage conflicts that arise during negotiations, either internally or with suppliers, and understand strategic and tactical roles and responsibilities of negotiators representing the buyer and supplier. This course will cover key areas in the negotiating environment for procurement negotiations, planning for and conducting negotiations with suppliers, establishing agendas and control points, managing conflicts, incorporating cultural approaches to negotiations with suppliers around the world, and exhibiting the effective habits of intermediate negotiators. Take this self-assessment to see how strong your negotiation skills are. Consider the result as you proceed through the course. Where do you need to gain additional knowledge related to negotiations? Track your progress through this training program. In this module on the negotiating environment, you will learn about the different settings for conducting procurement negotiations and how to evaluate the market to determine whether the buyer or supplier has the power in the situation. Negotiations can occur in a number of different settings. They may be held in person or via teleconference. Some negotiations may also occur via email. In-person negotiations are the preferred method for higher risk requirements or when there are complex procurements, such as when negotiating with a sole source supplier. Some of the benefits of an in-person negotiation include the ability to view the body language of the supplier's representative, having the opportunity to get to know the supplier better, and providing more timely responses to counterproposals made. It may also be nice to use in-person negotiations when negotiating with a supplier for the first time. It may not always be possible to conduct negotiations in person due to time and budget constraints. Conducting negotiations via telephone is typically less effective than in person. One of the key drawbacks to telephone negotiations is that they are typically completed much faster than in-person negotiations. This may result in pressure to agree to suboptimal solutions or the temptation to say no more easily. There is also a greater risk of misunderstanding or miscommunication. In many cases, there may be multiple people attending a teleconference from different locations, resulting in communication difficulties which can impact the overall results of the negotiation. Finally, telephone negotiations are often more competitive and carry greater risks for failure to reach an agreement. Oftentimes, negotiations are conducted with suppliers over the telephone after the initial negotiation occurs or for minor negotiating issues and purchases. There are some steps you can take to counteract the concerns with telephone negotiations when they are unavoidable. First and foremost, proper planning and preparation can eliminate the tendency to agree to suboptimal solutions. Knowing what offers the supplier is likely to make will enable you to respond quickly. Always use an agenda for telephone negotiations with suppliers. It is also important to actively listen to what the supplier is saying. The inability to see body language makes it increasingly important to read tone of voice during the negotiation. Writing a memorandum of agreement summarizing what has been discussed ensures that any misunderstanding is addressed quickly. While this may require an additional telephone session, it is preferable to waiting until the final agreement has been drafted. Finally, you may want to plan a graceful exit to the negotiation in the event you are unable to come to agreement. This will help maintain the possibility for future negotiations. Proper preparation is a critical first step for conducting successful procurement negotiations. During preparations, you should evaluate buyer and supplier needs, set your objectives for the negotiation, including the minimum position you are willing to accept, and determine what strategies and tactics you will use during the negotiation. Understanding the needs of both the buyer and the supplier is an important first step, as it will inform the other decisions you make regarding your objectives and strategies. If you anticipate what the supplier's position may be, you will be in a better position to respond during negotiations. For example, if you know that the supplier is likely to offer unfavorable payment terms, you can plan your counteroffer in advance. An example of a min, max, and target for payment terms could be an initial offer of net 60 days with a max offer of 30 days and a target agreement of 45 days. You can always factor in a quick payment discount in setting payment term objectives. Conducting market research is an important part of preparation. Market research should focus on a number of different areas such as the supplier's market share, operational performance, management experience, geographic presence, and commitment to ethics and integrity. Understanding the supplier's market share and market growth provides insights into their possible positions during the negotiation. For example, suppliers that are attempting to grow their market share will have different needs than those that are already dominant in the market. They might be willing to lower their price initially to gain share. This will lead to different negotiation objectives. Research on operational performance should focus on areas such as current quality levels, delivery performance, and overall responsiveness to customer needs. This information provides an indication of areas likely to require additional oversight. Any areas of concern should be addressed during negotiations. Knowing the management experience and organizational structure of the supplier may provide insight into how they are likely to respond during the negotiation. More experienced management teams are likely to be better prepared for negotiations. They will most likely be able to negotiate issues such as total cost, supplier performance management, value analysis, and partnering. There are several methods you can use to conduct market research, such as reviewing industry reports or company financial statements. Look for excellent performance in their current ratio, inventory turns, and profit margins. You may also consider reviewing the past performance history maintained by your organization if you have an ongoing business relationship with the supplier. It is also worthwhile to determine whether the supplier has any ongoing quality management initiatives or is the recipient of any quality or other industry awards. One way to assess the potential needs of the supplier is to use Maslow's hierarchy of needs approach. According to this model, there are basic needs that people and organizations must meet before addressing higher-level needs. For example, people require that their physiological needs, such as food and shelter, are met before addressing needs for love, affection, and esteem. Organizations have a similar hierarchy of needs in which needs for financial solvency take precedence over desires to obtain industry accolades. Keep this hierarchy in mind when evaluating the needs of your suppliers. Are the needs being addressed during negotiations related to their ability to remain in business? Established suppliers may want recognition in the form of partnering and shared resources. Newly formed suppliers will want to establish a contractual relationship first.